Ottermask groomed his fur, ridding it of the remaining water from his earlier swim. He was satisfied, having caught 3 trouts to bring back to camp. He lightly shook out his fur once he felt it was dry enough, stretching where he sat and repositioning his posture. The sturdy ex-mid-clanner couldn't help but notice Ottermask from afar, sitting alone close to the medicine cat's den, looking a bit aloof. Didn't he know? Lionscar trotted up to him. His tail twitched as he forced himself to focus on Lionscar. Hello. Hey, you're aware of the news, aren't you? The cream-pelted warrior's words were firm and straight to the point. No time for idle chit-chat with the Tom. Lionscar tilted his head towards the medicine cat's den, trying to hint to what he was referring to. Which news? His tone was laced with humor. Did another cat get swept away in a stream? He glanced over at the med den, whiskers twitching when he caught a whiff of blood. Oh. Now knowing that Ottermask wasn't aware of the situation, Lionscar gathered enough sympathy to be a bit rougher with the delivery of the news. The patrol early this morning ran into some issues, he informed his clanmate. Newtblink and Swifthare were looking rough when they returned. Lionscar sat, letting his body relax, trying to keep the tone of the conversation laid back and neutral. I saw a bit from the nursery. Didn't look too good, he huffed. His gaze hardened. Okay. Thank you for telling me. He dipped his head. He shuffled on his paws, anxious to go see Swifthare. His eyes were still fixed to the entrance of the healer's den.
So, how long until I can get back to going on patrol? He asked, ear twitching.
You two can wander around camp for a bit, though be careful to not open your wounds. You're off duty until tomorrow. Check in with me at dawn before you leave.
Visibly rolling his eyes, he nodded. Of course, will do, he sighed, then looked over at his brother. Ottermask, he beamed.
Swifthare? Newtblink? He stepped forward. He turned to see Ottermask, flicking his tail and excusing him and his apprentice.
A purr rose from his chest as the other approached. I got into the scuffle at the Windland border, but I assure you, they look worse than we do.
He blinked blankly at Swifthare. What caused the fight? Were they trespassing? She nodded enthusiastically. Sent them running like rabbits.
I suppose I'm off patrols until tomorrow, he groaned. But the border is safe. Swifthare flexed his claws into the nest, his muscles playing under his pelt in anticipation of getting back out there.
I suppose. He shuffled his paws anxiously. I'm just glad you're okay. Both of you. His eyes flicked over to Newtblink for a second, then back to his brother. Something about his attitude was odd.
I'm sure Shrike-san won't mind if I take a walk, right? He stood. Let's head to the fresh kill pile and grab something. I am starving.
His eyes followed Swifthare. Hey, wait! He followed quickly. You know better than to disobey the medicine cat, he scowled. I could have gotten something for you.
He picked up a big, delicious-looking trout from the pile, then looked up at the sky. It's just a small fight, don't worry. He then changed the topic. It's late enough for the elders and kits to have eaten, right?
I think so, yeah, he nodded. I got back from the Sunhigh Patrol only a bit ago, then came to see you in the med den. They should be fed by now. He picked up a paw and rubbed it on his face in a self-soothing gesture.
Alright, let's go. We can share this, it's huge, he purred.
The leader approached the pair, staring them down for a moment, especially Swifthare. I see you've recovered enough to walk.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. He nodded, respectfully dipping his head before the leader, despite having numerous cuts on his pelt.
Tempestar's eyes flicked to Ottermask now, as if cross-examining the cat to see just how true that was. Is that so? I had heard that it was a pretty nasty battle at the border. He glanced over at his brother, not feeling like he had a place to say much. I know just as much as you, he assured Tempestar.
I assure you, Tempestar, the Wind Clan Foxhearts look quite a ways worse than I do, he purred, his chest swelling with pride. We were outmatched 3-4, but with how scrawny they are, it was like fighting 2 apprentices.
They're scrawny? He mouthed to himself. He glanced over at Swifthare again, though kept quiet. Tempest Star's purr of pride was audible to the pair as he nodded towards them. Excellent. I'm quite happy to hear that you were capable of such skill in battle.
His chest felt warm at the compliment from the leader, and his eyes lit up. I pride myself on keeping the clan safe.
He bowed his head to the pair once more. I look forward to seeing you both work your hardest to defend RiverClan. I will leave you to recover, then. His ear twitched. You're on his good side, it seems.
He exchanged a glance with his brother. Do you think it's too late to join the Dust Patrol?
The desk patrol? He looked up at the sky. No, you're not supposed to be leaving the medicine den, let alone the camp. Absolutely not.
Oh, you're no fun. Groaning, he dramatically flopped over onto his side, then yelped in pain from laying on his fresh wound.
Mouse brain, he mumbled. Come, I'll help you get settled back in the den.
He sighed. Fine. He flicked his tail. He could feel it itching in his paw pads. Staying in camp was not something he really enjoyed doing.
Shrek Song, he greeted, beckoning them over with his tail. He patted over, nodding to Icicle Paw. Sort some of the herbs for me, please. Shrek Song looked between the warriors, sighing. Did Swifthare open one of his wounds again? Please make sure this cat doesn't leave your den again. He glanced over at Swifthare jokingly. Yeah, he did some roll thing, hurt himself.
No, I think it's fine, he said, then looked down to see a bit of blood trickling down his flank.
The med cat didn't look surprised. We had a whole conversation about this. You need to take it easy around camp.
He sighed. I didn't think it would open from walking to the fresh kill pile and back.
He chewed the herb into a paste, moving over to apply it to Swifthair's side. And what about the supposed rolling around you were doing?
I slipped. It wasn't a roll, he complained.
Get some rest, please. He gestured with his paw towards Swifthare, trying to tune out the complaining. I'll see you in the morning, okay? He settled in the nest, wedging himself to the side. Swifthare would usually be taking up the other side of the nest, but for now, he'd keep it warm for him.
Bright and early, Swifthare stalked to the warrior's den, nudging his brother gently to wake him. Ottermask! He yelled.
He flinched, jolting his head up at the noise. Swifthare?
I got the okay from Shrek Song. He sing-songed, then nudged him again. Let's go hunting before the first patrol is sent out.
Why before? He sat up and rubbed the sleep from his eyes. Aren't you still hurting?
The only thing I am is itching to get out of this camp, he said, his eyes excited. Come on, we haven't hunted together in forever. A little dramatic. It had been like, what, 3 days?
Okay, I'm getting up. He stepped over the edge of the nest and stretched, eventually following Swifthare once more awake.
I'm hungry for a mouse, or squirrel, he said, wondering if they could find one this far into Leaf Bear.
You should be able to get something. His ears perked as he saw the thrush land not too far from here.
As he stalked closer to the thrush, one paw carefully set after the other, avoiding the icy grass not to make noise, he got ready to leap, and, with claws outstretched, Swifthair essentially mauled the thrush, ripping it nearly clean in half as he landed right on top of its neck.
Ottermask flinched, eyeing what remained of the thrush. Ah.
With his racing heart slowly calming down, the rush died down as the gleam inside his eyes slowly faded. There was something there, something unsettling, but now it was gone. I didn't think I was gonna catch that, he purred, now back to normal.
He blinked, once again glaring at the mangled thrush. Very enthusiastic, he nodded. Is it all you wanted? Should we head back now?
Well, I can only carry so much prey, and the dirt is too hard to bury this for later, to hunt more. He considered it briefly, then shook his head. Unless you want to fish, we can head back.
I'll likely be on a later patrol. He sniffed as he spoke, his nose cold from the air. He still hadn't fully woken up yet, nor processed what Swifthair had done to the bird.
Well, let's go then, he purred, seeming quite high-spirited. He carried the half-falling-apart bird in his maw, happy to see the pile was quite full. He then decided to bring this to the nursery while it was still warm.
Cloudflower blinks, looking at the two cats. Swifthair, Ottermask. She purrs a warm greeting, sitting up.
Good morning, he purred through the mangled and quite frankly disturbing yet fresh bird. I caught this thrush, and I wanted Bartkit to have it while it was still warm.
She looks at Bartkit. Would you like it? She asked. That was very kind.
Bartkit curiously looked at the thrush. What is this? It don't look like a bird. They scrunched their nose. It looks gross.
You need to thank StarClan for every meal, he disagreed, flicking his tail tip. It's a little mangled, but it's still food.
Oh, okay. Thanks, StarClan. They looked up at nothing.
She studied the prey, sniffing it.
He dipped his head before heading back out towards his brother.
Tipistar patted up, tail flicking as he glanced over the two, humming. You both missed the dawn patrols. I was hoping to see you there. He lifted his head. Oh, sorry.
My apologies. I asked Ottermask to go out hunting with me, he said, taking accountability for them both missing it.
Timbisong quirked a brow, and for a second seemed like he would reprimand him, before a soft sigh escaped his maw. If you're so antsy, you'd best be careful not to shirk your duties. If this becomes repetitive, you'll likely be assigned camp duties.
He dipped his head in genuine shame. My sincere apologies. It'll not happen again. His voice sounded so defeated. It was like he deflated at the face of Tempest Star's disappointment.
The sight of the cat becoming so disheartened by his stern words seemed to soften the leader's attitude a bit. Ah, well, so long as it doesn't become a habit.
He nodded quickly. Of course not. I will make sure I'm assigned to the Sun High or Dusk patrols, he said, excited to prove himself to Tempest Star.
Tempest Star's tail flicked for a moment before he nodded, glancing between the pair. Don't push yourself too hard. His eyes flicked to Ottermask. If you could join your brother on a patrol, I would appreciate the knowledge that you'll both be at your best. Of course, he nodded. Tempest Star sighed with relief, bowing his head and trotting away, offering them privacy.
Let's go see if Wolf Snarl is assigning patrols yet, he purred. I'm going to ask Wolf Snarl for that patrol, he purred, then turned to the cat.
His sharp, tired eyes narrowed to Swifthair. What now?
Wolf Snarl, he greeted the older Tom, ears perked. I was wondering if I could go on border patrol, as I missed the morning patrols by accident. He dipped his head apologetically.
His gaze narrowed for a moment before his gaze softened with a huff. Very well. At least one cat understands the drive for work. I'll call it now.
He dipped his head. Thank you, Wolf Snarl.
He cleared his throat once more. All cats able to hunt and swim in the rapids. Gather around for patrols.
With anticipation tingling in his paws, he waited for his name to be called.
Sitnose, you will lead hunting patrols. Take Gingersnap, Starling Frost, and Tide Dove with you. As requested, Swifthair, you will lead a border patrol near Sunning Rocks with Wiltshade and Ottermask. Tide Dove turned his head towards the two. A quick glance. And Gingersnap, lead the border patrol near the bridge with Juniper Sun and Turn Tusk. Dismissed. Daylight's burning, he grunted.
Of course! He stood immediately, excitement in his tone. Yes! Leading the patrol! He purred to himself as he looked from his brother to Wiltshade. Let's head out.
His tail flicked, awaiting orders from Swifthair.
All right, let's hope we don't catch any ThunderClan weasels on our territory, he purred.
Ottermask gave the border one last look. They'd spent much time securing it, and they were heading back now in the cover of nightfall.
Let's report back to Wolf Snarl and then get into our nests, he said, sounding quite tired from being on his paws all day.
You've got that, right? He said, his maw drawing back in a yawn. He then padded off, leaving Swifthair to report back to Wolf Snarl while he himself got settled in their nest.
It was a boring patrol. I wish we could have chased us some ThunderClanners. Oh well, maybe next time. He muttered, already dozing off as he spoke.
Ottermask began to stir as sunlight leaked into the den. It had been a moon now since the border skirmish that left Swifthair injured, and his wounds were now well healed. He looked up. They'd woken up late.
Yawning, he lifted his head. What time is it? Oh no! He yelped, jumping up. The patrols! He raced out of the den.
He cleared his throat before he went on. Wilted Shade, lead a hunting patrol with Starling Frost and Patch Stride. Sitnose, lead a border patrol near Sunning Rocks with Cotton Paw and Scorch Flame. And Swifthair, lead a border patrol near the bridge with Lion Scar and Badger Blink. Have fun, he nodded to his brother, slightly pleased to not be patrolling today.
Of course, he rose with pride, gathering his cats and dipping his head to his brother before heading out of the camp.
He repositioned and began grooming his fur. After a while, he stood, curious to find that Swifthair hadn't returned. He might as well find him, or at least catch something while trying.
His hackles rose as his claws unsheathed. "You dare approach me?" he hissed before launching forward without warning. This loner was going to learn one way or another.
Ottermask flinched. For a moment he was relieved to see that the cat Swifthare found wasn't from WindClan, but then he realized it was a loner, and a large one too. Spark rolled over, falling into the hit easily, but she wasn't going to let that get the best of her. She raked her claws into Swifthair's leg.
Hissing, he dug his claws into the loner's shoulder, leaving tears in their pelt. No more words were spoken as something sparked in their eyes.
He kinda just froze. He didn't like to see Swifthare attack a cat, but this cat was trespassing. It was in the code to chase out intruders. Spark wreathed, rolling over and shoving Swifthare off of her, turning to face him with a scowl.
His expression was one of excitement rather than anger, strain, or even fear. He was enjoying this. Facing off against the larger opponent, he charged forward, then ducked in a last moment to throw his entire weight against the loner's front legs.
She growled, falling over the tom, trying to wildly kick at him. This cat was ruthless, and at this point, she was just trying to leave.
He shoved the loner over to her side, lunging forward to bite into her throat, then hesitated for just a moment and bit her shoulder instead. It couldn't be over so soon.
Ottermask stepped forward. "Swifthare, you won the fight. Let her run," he murmured. Swifthare was always overzealous, but he was never a killer. Spark flailed a little, getting herself up on her paws and pushing herself away. She stumbled a bit, and you could see the fear etched into her gaze.
Roaring as his opponent seemed to try to flee. What a killjoy! Swifthare was so in his own mind, the rush too overwhelming to stop and think. He charged, jumping onto the back of the loner, the force of his jump sending Spark toppling to the floor, her neck twisting as she hit the ground and breaking with a crack.
Ottermask stared, wide-eyed, but he was never a killer. His own words rang in his head as he watched the scene.
He turned. That scary look on his face faded back into his usual demeanor. "That was close," he chuckled. "They almost left and brought reinforcements." He sheathed his claws, his actions completely plausible to him.
"Swifthare!" he snapped. "A warrior doesn't have to kill to win a fight, you know this!" Despite his anger, he still remained physically passive.
He blinked, confused, then folded his ears back. He then shook his head. "But she was trespassing and..." He shut his maw. "I don't have to justify protecting my clan to you."
His gaze hardened. "No, you don't. But you have to justify the death of an innocent cat if you can." He glanced over grimly to the cat's body, to Tempest Star, if anyone.
"She was not innocent. She trespassed. She did not heed my warning," he said, his eyes showing disappointment. "I will speak to Tempest Star."
Lionscar shook with silent anger and guilt, muttering aloud to no one in particular. "I wasn't expecting to experience a death this morning." "I'm so sorry," he mumbled to the black cat. He walked up to Shrike Song, bowing his head. "I heard that wolf snarl is sick. Do you know what it is?" He flicked his ear, frowning. "I haven't heard anything. He was acting strange, though." He looked off into camp. He must have kept quiet about it.
He remained silent, waiting his turn to speak to Tempest Star.
"He mentioned that you had tried your herbs already. He's a cough, and given his age..." He paused, glancing to the pair beside him. He stayed quiet. He had always rooted for Swifthare to be deputy one day, but his ambition had gotten the better of him more than once now. He wasn't so sure now, and he could only hope Wolfstar's illness didn't give him any ideas. His frown deepened. "I did no such thing." He flicked his tail, frustrated. "I'll have to check in on him later, and actually give him some herbs." His nose then twitched, looking to Swifthare. "Are those more wounds I smell?" He nodded his head lowly, a sigh of relief in his maw. Thank you, Shrike-song. His worried tone significantly less strained now.
When he felt like it was his turn to speak, he did. There was an altercation at the border. I had to kill a loner that was trespassing and not backing away when asked.
He pricked up his ears, nodding. Of course, he mewed, still a little frustrated. The leader's ear flicked at the new information, turning to the pair with a firm look. Killed? You're certain that they weren't backing down?
The way he looked at Tempest Star was one of admiration and ambition.
Shrike-song flicked his ears back again, staring at Swifthare. He didn't know how to feel about that.
I couldn't be sure they weren't just trying to get reinforcements, he dipped his head. To me, it was the only way to make sure the clan was safe.
He silently padded forward, wordlessly applying some poultice to Swifthare's wounds as he listened. With a few moments of contemplation, as if going through all the responses he could give, he decided that the clan needed protection over a loner. I'm glad that you protected the clan so strongly. He glanced up at Tempest Star. If the leader said it was okay, Ottermask guessed it was. Swifthare hadn't broken the code, technically, especially for an outsider cat.
Thank you. I hope Wolfsnarl recovers, he said. Was it bad that he kind of wished he didn't? Swifthare had already mentored an apprentice, and becoming the next deputy was more than likely.
I'll go tend to him now, he excused himself quickly. Tempest Star's eyes flicked to Ottermask for a moment, as if searching them for their own opinion on what they saw. He offered nothing back, just a solemn expression riddled with insecurity. The look brought pause to Tempest Star for a moment, but not enough for him to look further. You both should rest up. I must attend to the rest of camp.
Flicking his tail, he excused himself to the warrior's den. Let's get some sleep.
He watched his brother pad off. Looking for answers, he turned to the medicine den instead of his own. Shrike-song, he dipped his head. Is it too late for a chat? Shrike-song's movements were harsh, and the Tom seemed frustrated. His head snapped up, and his demeanor softened as he saw Ottermask. No, it isn't. What's the problem? No problem, he assured. Just wondering. Have you seen a cat sustain as many wounds as Swifthare so often? He stared at his paws for a few moments before looking back up. Once I had to deal with a very clumsy apprentice. They were in my den every other day, he mewed in a joking tone. A smile parted his maw. I'm just worried is all. I've never once doubted his ability as a warrior. He just seems overzealous at times, running headfirst into things. Although in all seriousness, no. Usually warriors stray away from fights after being recently wounded. Shrike-song paused. However, I've seen cats over the seasons willing to jump back in, though none were given the opportunity to. Swifthare is an incredibly ambitious warrior, he snorted, staring at his herbs. That's not to say his behavior isn't a bit reckless. Do you think he'll be okay? He hummed seriously. The medicine cat nodded. He'll be fine. Sure, he may have a few more scars as he gets older, but that's only caused by his drive to protect RiverClan. Nothing more. Thank you. He appreciated the reassurance. Probably just too worried, since he's my brother and all. He slowly blinked. Good night, Shrike-song. You're a good brother for worrying. Make sure you're there for him, he purred, flicking his tail. Good night. He groggily lifted his head. Dawn. Again.
Good morning, he yawned.
Morning. He rubbed his face with a paw. Now that he had slept, his worries had been left behind.
We're the last ones in the nest, he mused. Let's see what's in store for us today.
His ears perked as Tempestar approached the rock. He hadn't seen him up there in moons. Tempestar settled upon the rock with a purr, before puffing his chest out and yowling to the entire camp. Male cats old enough to swim the rapids, gather beneath the wet rock for a clan meeting. It has come to my attention that one of ours has reached the age to where they may become an apprentice. He spoke with pure pride in his voice. Barkkit, you have reached the age of 6 moons, and it is time for you to be apprenticed. From this day on until you receive your warrior name, you will be known as Barkpaw. He beamed with pride.
Barkkit, Barkpaw now, pushed themselves away from Cloudflower and gave her and her dad a big smile. They waltzed into the clearing like they owned the place.
The leader's eyes scanned the clearing before lighting on Swifthare, a smile in his expression. Your mentor will be Swifthare. I hope Swifthare will pass down all they know onto you. He paused briefly. Oh.
Rising with pride, he padded over to the small cat and gently touched his nose to Barkpaw's. Not his first rodeo, but still excitement welled inside his chest.
They turned and eyed the warrior they were assigned. Oh, the one with the weird thrush. They touched noses.
He was still anxious, but a purr rose in his throat seeing his brother so happy.
I'll do my best, they purred.
How about I show you the territory? He purred back, looking up at Tempestar to see if there was anything else the leader wanted to say.
The leader glanced across the group of cats before yowling firmly again. Swifthare, I trust you to train Barkpaw into a fine warrior. This meeting is dismissed. His eyes stayed on Swifthare. He followed the leader's stern gaze back to his brother. He took in a deep breath. Time without Swifthare? Unheard of. He looked at the other still gathered cats. Over the next few days, Ottermask began to get used to Swifthare not being around as much. He'd been kept busy with Barkpaw's training, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was nice to have time alone. Barkpaw and Swifthare were working hard, prioritizing battle training as always. Barkpaw was a little roughed up from it, a few nicks and scratches, and occasionally a wound. But as long as his brother wasn't getting into fights that left him seriously wounded anymore, he was satisfied.
Ottermask, he said, happy to see his brother. As of late, he only really saw him in the den at night. I was thinking of teaching Barkpaw some combat moves and could use a paw to show him how it's done.
So, a training dummy? He chuckled. Yeah, sure. He stood, stretching. He hadn't spent time with Swifthare for some time, aside from the occasional quick patrol.
Barkpaw looked between the two, seeming a bit standoffish. They felt awkward, having someone else present for training. They shook the feeling off.
He chose to take them to the sandy area near the Windland border, as the ground here was softer, even in Leaf Bear.
Barkpaw's tail swished impatiently. So, what are you going to teach me?
I want to show you how to get out of a grapple, but since you can't grapple me due to your size, he looked from the apprentice over to his brother, I brought someone my size.
Ottermask nodded, standing. You mind? He murmured as he patted over.
Barkpaw nodded silently, stepping back to watch.
He wedged his paws between his brother's shoulder blades, pressing slightly into his ribs to hold him down.
As his brother pinned him down, he narrated as he moved, slowly to show how it was done. When held down like this, you need to make sure you get out fast, since your throat is exposed. He angled his back legs against Ottermask's belly. In a real fight, I'd unsheath my claws to do some damage, but you just kick here as hard as you can. The belly is one of the most vulnerable areas of a cat, after the eyes and throat. He then launched Ottermask off of himself with a fierce kick.
He landed with his paws under him, though it made an audible thud. He kept himself upright, standing back up in a smooth motion. Nice, he purred. He hadn't fought his brother since they were apprentices.
Whoa! Barkpaw's eyes lit up. They still seemed nervous, intimidated, maybe, but Swifthair's battle moves were always so impressive.
All right. Now you. Here, lay down and let me pin you, he said, walking over to the apprentice. I expect you to give it all you got. Understood?
Barkpaw nodded hesitantly. I understand. They spoke as they walked forward to lie down, waiting.
Stepping over the small apprentice, he placed his paws onto their shoulders, pinning them down with no claws. But his sheer weight was enough to knock the air out of Barkpaw.
Barkpaw tried not to flinch. Remembering what Swifthair said, they tried to kick him with all their might, but it wasn't working. Why wasn't Swifthair moving?
Ottermask watched the apprentice. They'd figure it out, he thought, watching.
Barkpaw's kicks fell short of power as they struggled under their warrior. Come on, Barkpaw! More power! Kick me like I'm a ThunderClan warrior threatening your clan! He shouted at the small cat.
Barkpaw winced, fear rising in their chest. They struggled, trying even harder. They started to try and grapple at Swifthair's arms out of desperation.
Giving up is going to get you killed in battle. Focus, Barkpaw. Kick! He hissed, getting carried away with emotion and unsheathing his claws into the apprentice's shoulder muscles.
Barkpaw couldn't keep trying. Their little body wasn't strong enough. They gripped Swifthair's arms with their claws. Swifthair, please! They pleaded.
Ottermask stood, his silence finally breaking. He padded up and stuck his leg between Swifthare and Barkpaw's chests, pushing forward to force Swifthare off to the side.
Barkpaw rolled over with a gasp, regaining their breath. They stumbled off, lightheaded, practically having to crawl away from the two brothers.
Blinded by ambition, he reared up and slashed his claws across Ottermask's face, a dark haze blinding his vision to any reason or judgment.
He stumbled a bit, not expecting the blow. Swifthare, please, he cried. He didn't even know what to say. It's not like he'd pointed out this behavior to him in the past. Who was he to say anything? Anger pulsed through him, seeing Barkpaw's terrified eyes. Something is wrong. You can't. He tensed. You never know when to stop!
As the setting sun reflected in his eyes, darkness gleamed inside them. His maw parted in a roar as he rammed into his brother and threw him to the ground. In the fight now, he found it hard to stop, just like Ottermask said.
He let out a yowl, quickly rolling and jamming his hind legs into Swifthair's stomach, sending him barreling across the clearing. Stop!
He jumped back to his paws immediately, his face terrifyingly twisted into one of mania. No words were left in his blank mind as he got ready to charge him again.
He let out a sigh, lowering himself to prepare for a blow. So, we're doing this, hmm?
He roared, leaping forward, but missing Ottermask by a whisker length. Twisting around, he struck forward, attempting to batter his brother's head to disorient him.
Being low to the ground to avoid his brother's leap, he was able to jolt upwards and bite into Swifthair's shoulder, pulling at him in an attempt to get him back on the ground.
Struggling against the force, he hit the ground hard, rolling over to try to get back onto his feet, claws outstretched to wrap around Ottermask's neck, pulling him down, pinning him. With his claws stuck into his brother's throat fur, it seemed like he was moments from tearing it out.
He let out a screech, reaching up high to try and grab Swifthair's arm. He was in a chokehold, and could only desperately claw at his brother's arms now. The fight was over.
As his hold tightened, and the only noises coming from his brother were labored breaths and chokes, it was almost like the ringing in his ears stopped and the red haze that clouded his mind faded away. Stumbling backwards, his ears pinned, and his claws sheathed. What was he doing?
He choked, gagging and spitting at the ground as air re-entered his lungs. He stood, shaky on his paws, and turned around.
Looking up at his brother with a terrified expression, he didn't know how to speak or what to say.
He swallowed, his mouth tasting of blood. Are you done? He snapped.
He whimpered. I didn't, he whispered, his gaze slowly turning over to his shaking and terrified apprentice.
Barkpaw flinched when Swifthair turned to look at them. They were completely frozen, their stomach lurching, paws shaking. They looked away abruptly.
Met with the look in Barkpaw's eyes, Swifthair's guilt seemed to all come crashing down at him at once. None of this was worth it. Nothing. Not one fight. Not when a cat he was supposed to protect looked at him that way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't think.
He stared out into the long stretch of land, not blinking until he could no longer see his brother sprinting away.